Hey, Ty here, so welcome to the VR Tech channel. Here we're back with the Pico 4, and in this video we're gonna compare it with, well, its biggest competitor, the Meta Quest 2. So this video is for you if you're wondering you should upgrade from the Quest 2 to the actual new Pico 4, or if you really want to jump in VR for the first time and you don't know if you wanna join Team Pico or Team Meta. So well, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's try to answer this question. Let's get into it. Alright, so comparing these two behemoths of standalone headsets is not an easy task, so that's why I decided to divide this video in different categories. So we're gonna give a point to one or the other, if one is better at something or not, and if they're even, a tie. I'm gonna leave them there the entire time so you can keep track of the progress and see which one is getting better or ahead or behind. And at the end of a video, hopefully, we're gonna have a winner. Or maybe not. But yeah, here we are. Let's start with comfort. This section will be pretty straightforward because the out-of-the-box experience is completely different between these two headsets. We always complain about the Meta Quest 2 being very front-heavy and also shipping with a strap that is really kind of bad. Instead, the Pico 2 out-of-the-box comes already with an arch strap that is very balanced front to back because we have the battery on the back over there, and it doesn't press on your face at all, on the contrary of the Quest 2. It really takes a long time before starting to get tired of that thing on your head. So there's really no competition over here. The point goes to the Pico 4. And now let's talk about build quality. This is the way this headset is built and the way it feels in your hands. And over here again you can see that the Quest 2 feels much cheaper and looks much cheaper than the Pico 4. Everything feels in the right place with different buttons that are very clicky, and the materials overall feel better quality compared to the one on the Quest 2 that was built from the beginning to actually being cheap. Is the Quest 2 bad in build quality? Well, no, absolutely not. But the Pico 4 really feels like a premium device in your hands. So well, again, this time we have to give another point to the Pico 4. And something that is very connected to the build quality is actually the design. Now, this is not really a subjective thing. It's not about, oh, I like this better, how it looks, or I don't like how the other looks. It's really about the idea. In this case, is where the Pico 4 seems like it was built to be comfortable, it was built to be playable for longer sessions, and it was built to actually be easy as much as possible. The design is minimal. They decided to have an arch strap to be able to have a battery on the back, to have a better balance, instead of going the inexpensive way like the Quest 2 to have everything in the front. They're both good looking, by the way. Probably the Quest 2 is more of an icon because it's also much more famous than the Pico 4 that just came out. And of course, there's also the fact that you've put them side by side, you can see the difference inside between one and the other. The Pico 4 really feels like a next generation on the design part. For design, the way they built it, absolutely, the Pico 4 takes the point again. But now let's get inside it and let's talk about the screens. And that's where things get interesting. Well, here we have two very similar screens, to be honest. We have the Pico 4 with an LCD display with a resolution of 2160 by 2160 each eye, running at 90 Hz with RGB pixel arrangement, so a very dense display and high resolution, and Quest 2 with a resolution 1920 by 1832, so a bit lower than the Pico 4. It's again an LCD display with RGB pixel arrangement, but it makes up for the resolution with the 120 Hz, so a much faster screen. Giving a point here is kind of hard because on the way we have a lot of clarity on the Pico 4 where you feel that the resolution is higher, and overall on the Quest 2 we have better colors and better brightness, something that we saw together in the Through the Lenses video. So it really depends on the games you're planning to play. So over here, we have to give the first time. And of course, now we have to talk about lenses. That's where these two headsets differ the most. Where in the Quest 2, we have an older technology with Fresnel lenses. They use all the rings around plastic lenses to be cheaper and inexpensive. And on the other side, we have a newer technology, the pancake lenses, that are absolutely fantastic. Yeah, you know where this is going. The clarity is off the charts. The particular thing to understand over here is that on the Quest 2 with the Fresnel lenses, if you look in the middle of the lenses, the view is gonna be very, very good. Instead, on the Pico 4, no matter where you look in your entire field of view, everything is gonna be crystal clear. And that's not a little detail. That's also the reason why every single manufacturer is actually moving on pancake lenses now. They make the headset smaller and they make the clarity much better. The new Quest Pro that is gonna come out is gonna use them, for example. So again, here we have an older technology versus a newer technology, and the point, of course, go to the Pico 4. Now, IPD adjustment. Here is where the Pico again crashes the competition. On the Quest 2, we have a 3-step IPD. If you're out of their range, well, you're gonna feel some discomfort in your view. Instead, the Pico 4 has a stepless IPD adjustment, so you can really match the lenses to the position of your eyes. That creates much better clarity and much better comfort eye-wise, because you don't get much eye strain. And on top of that, on the Pico 4 is even motorized. So that means that by software, you're gonna change it and the lenses are gonna just move by themselves to the position you asked for. That's incredible. Again, to the Pico 4. FOV, field of view. This is very important for many people, is how large is the view inside the headset. And this on the two, it's very similar, to be honest. The Pico 4 though feels a bit larger for main reason that, as we said before, the clarity in the entire field of view is much better than on the Quest 2. So you feel like you're more immersed in the game, you have more things around you and not just a blur mess around you and the center of the view of what you want to see. I know that many people want 200 degrees field of view, but here we're still talking about standalone headsets and that they have to rely on the processor that it's inside them to actually run games, so it will not be possible to go too large with it. So the fact that we have a better clarity on the Pico 4 for sure makes a big difference. And again, we have to give the point to the Pico 4 here. Alright, so far it seems like a Pico is really crushing it. So let's talk about the controllers. Here the controller's design is very similar. Of course, we're talking about the design that was created by Oculus, Meta now, with the 2 buttons, the thumbstick, and well, the system button, I'll say, and the ring for the tracking, track from the cameras that are on the headset itself. So while the Quest controllers are the original design, the Pico kind of rearranges them and makes them better. Actually, the buttons are in both capacitive, so they understand if your thumb is resting or not on one of the buttons. But there are 2 things that actually make the controllers on the Pico 4 better than the one on the Quest 2. Haptics and the tracking rings. Talking about haptics, this is the first time that the controller feels like a console controller. The Pico 4 has very good motors, they feel heavy when they vibrate. Instead, in the Quest 2, it feels just like a buzz. When they said it in the marketing, I didn't believe them, but then actually trying them, yes, this is a much better haptic experience. And the ring for the tracking, not for the tracking itself, but for the positioning, because in that way, it never gets in the way when you try to use it, for example, with rifles or with pistols. When you try to put your 2 ends together, the rings never get in the way, and it's a very smart design decision. Oh, and this is the next run, is not gonna be important for most of you, but there is a dedicated recording button. You press once, you make a screenshot. I hope they're gonna change it actually, because I took a lot of screenshots even if I didn't want to. And if you hold it, you're gonna start to record a video. Having it directly on the controller is absolutely fantastic for content creators, or if you wanna just share your experiences on social. So yeah, if the Quest 2 created an amazing design with the controllers, Pico took it in the next step. For that, it deserves a point again. But yeah, we talked about the tracking rings, so we have to talk about the tracking itself. And finally, this is the first time that we give a point in this video, for now, to the Quest 2. Trying different games like bow and arrows and stuff, I experienced more tracking hiccups on the Pico 4 than on the Quest 2. Where probably the positioning of the camera is better on the headset itself, and at the same time they have a better prediction software. For the headset itself is not a problem whatsoever, but because we're comparing these two and we're going into details, I need to give the point to the Quest 2. The tracking experience is better there. And now let's talk about audio. Both they have integrated audio in the straps. Good thing is that you don't have to wear headphones if you don't want to, but on the other side, privacy-wise, well, people are gonna be able to hear at high volumes what you're actually hearing. The experience in both is pretty even, but I have to give the point to the Quest 2, because yeah, you're not gonna be able to connect your headphones with the headphone jack on the Pico 4. There's no port there. That means that if you want headphones, you're gonna have to rely on Bluetooth headphones. Yes, you can connect them in both, but I found much better every time to just have the ease on an headphone jack. You don't have to recharge 30,000 things. It's just much easier and it just works. And I don't really understand why they took it out. So yeah, point to the Quest 2, no doubt whatsoever. Pico, bring it back. And another thing where the headphone jack actually helps with battery life, because yeah, you don't have to rely on the Bluetooth connection the entire time. Headphones or not, I actually saw a much better battery life in the Quest 2 out of the gate than in the Pico 4 that arrives around the 2 hours playing games. Instead, the Quest 2 actually arrived at around 2 hours and a half, almost 3 hours. Now, it's not a big difference that is gonna make you decide between one or the other, but we have to say it that the Quest 2 is better in that. So, point for the Quest 2. What contributes to the battery use is of course the processor. Here they both have an XR2 processor from Qualcomm, and they also both run on Android, by the way, so the experience here is very similar. Playing games, you don't really notice the difference. They're both silky smooth, so the processor here is not a factor of choice. They're both in the same generation, let's say. So yeah, it's a tie. But now let's get to the interesting part and let's talk about software and feature. And that's where the Quest 2 actually crashes completely the competition. Well, since the very beginning we saw continuous updates to the Quest 2 to add different features, to make it better, like the hand tracking, for example, that the Pico 4 is completely lacking of. They gave us 3D pass-through, they gave us 90 Hz, and then they gave us 120 Hz. Connection to the phone, social interactions, multitasking, and software that is always evolving. Instead, yes, we are still at the beginning with Pico 4, yes, they're investing a lot on it, but it already feels like a copy when you use the menus of the Quest 2. And why do you get inspired for it? Because in that case, it's just a better product and it's right to do that because it works. So here there's not even competition, like the Quest 2 is like on another level. A point to that. And now the next section, this very important thing, is actually games. The Pico 2 is actually shipping out of the box with the very good library, but that's where the Quest 2 really shines. At the end of the day, it's out for more than 2 years, so developers really had time to actually create games for it. Also, Meta invested a lot of money to create exclusives like the Star Wars series, that then they ported also to PlayStation, but before was an exclusive. A battle royale like Population 1, Beat Saber that became Meta product, so now you're not gonna be able to have it on the Pico 4, of course, because it's owned by Meta. So we have really big titles over there. So if you jump in a Pico 4, you have to be aware that you're at the beginning of a new generation of consumer headsets. Yes, they said that they're gonna invest a lot, that's why we're receiving big games like Walking Dead and Sinners Chapter 2, also on the Pico 4 when it's gonna get out. But yeah, overall, right now, there's not even competition. The Quest 2 has many more games and variety of games to enjoy. So far though, we have to give a point, and the point, of course, goes to the Quest 2. And when we're not talking about standalone games, we have to talk about PCVR games, the ability to connect these headsets to the PC to actually play Steam VR games or Oculus game, in the case of Oculus, and how they play at the end of the day. And well, this is a very particular thing, because on a way the Pico 4 has a better resolution. On the other side though, this software is not as good as the Quest 2. We both have the ability to use a cable, stream games from the PC, or to use a wireless connection. So the situation here is pretty even. What I noticed on the Pico 4 that many times I find incompatibilities with some games where the controllers maybe don't work at all, and the only way to fix it is actually to use a virtual desktop, that is a third-party application. And many times that this game works, actually they're emulating the Oculus touch controllers, and it's kind of weird to see the touch controllers on you when you actually have the Pico controllers on you. On the other side though, the Quest 2, because of that, has compatibility with pretty much every game, PC VR games out there. It really feels more natural. You just connect it and works. So if they're both pretty good as an experience, they're both completely enjoyable. I actually play most of the time with the Pico 4 right now, PCVR games, because I prefer the screen and the lenses. On the other side, I have to admit that the experience is actually better on the Quest 2, and for that I have to give the point to the Quest 2. And now, next section, Moddability and accessories, how much you can actually mod your headset to make it better, and that's where the Quest 2 actually crashes completely the Pico 4. Not just because the Pico 4 is not even out yet, but because there's not really possibility to mod the Pico 4 in the same way we have possibility to mod the Quest 2. At the end of the day, again, as the Pico 4 is created to be a nice headset, a great headset out of the gate, the Quest 2 is just made to be modded and to be made better. The aftermarket market is just incredibly big. So again, we have to give the point to the Quest 2 over here. But now everything brings to the last section, that is actually price. And this is tricky because if we were making this video a year ago, we would have completely a different winner. But, you know, things changed. Meta actually raised the price of the Quest 2 of an entire $100 because the Pico 4 is actually cheaper at 429 euros. It's not available in the US yet, but the price is pretty much one by one, and 499 for the 256GB version. Instead, the Quest 2 costs 449.99 cents in Europe, of course, and 549 for the 256GB version. So yeah, it's more expensive in both cases. And on top of that, the out-of-the-box experience doesn't even have a decent strap, so you really have to invest in aftermarket solutions or the Elite strap from Oculus itself. And by the way, for the better hardware that we saw in all the different points and categories, well, there's no really competition here. The points has to go to the Pico 4. It's cheaper and with a better hardware, plain simple. So here we are at the conclusions, and if my calculations are right, we have 8 points for the Pico 4 and 7 points for the Quest 2. So yeah, we have a winner, the Pico 4. So going back to the first question, should you upgrade from the Quest 2 to the Pico 4? Is it actually an upgrade? Well, yes, but not completely. It feels like a next generation experience when it comes to comfort and hardware, but on the other side, software-wise, you kind of miss the features and the things that the games that you had on the Quest 2. So I will not probably suggest to make the jump unless you keep both, or unless you really want to have better clarity from the lenses and the screens. But I think that with this video you can really understand what's more important for you and take the points that are most important for you and make your own decision. On the other side, if you have to choose, well, personally, if you believe in Pico and you're not bothered by the fact that it's a Chinese company, well, Pico seems a very good thing to buy right now. It's a newer headset, it's more comfortable, gives a better experience on many different things, and has enough games and experiences to actually be enjoyed. And it's cheaper, so I don't see why not. On the other side though, if you want to go in the safe way, the Quest 2 is still a great headset. Right now, it's gonna receive even bigger games in the future, like the Ghostbuster game. So yeah, even if we have a winner, it's not as easy as it looks. The important thing though, that I will not feel left behind this time owning a Pico headset compared to the Quest headset. That's the headset I'm using the most right now, because it's just that great to actually have something comfortable in your head all the time, instead of something heavy that can't wait to take it out. But yeah, I hope it helped, and let me know what you think about it. Do you think that I misaligned some points? Would you give some points to one instead of the other? Let me know in the comment below. And as always guys, if you liked the video, like. If you didn't like the videos, please like. Click it even twice so you know I know better. And subscribe to the channel for more of VR tech. And if you really love this channel, there's a join button down there, a little on further in the description. Also the Patreon. Thanks to all the Patreons who joined the channel, of course, for the support. And I see you guys in the next video. It's gonna be tomorrow, where they're gonna present the Quest Pro. And then we're gonna do another true balances video with the Pico 4, compared this time to the HP Reverb G2 and the Valve Index. Many of you asked for the comparison, so let's make it happen. Again, like, dislike, subscribe, and I see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.